Hello, class. Without much further ado, I'll delve into the topic. So, my plan today is to introduce theory to you. Introducing literary theory. Now, I have seen that for many students I encounter, they think that theory is probably one of the most difficult parts of being a student of literature, which is actually not the case. If you do connect to theory personally, theory probably is one of the most interesting, one of the most delightful areas of literary studies. Now, what actually is theory? We have seen the word being used in scientific context. That's the biggest problem. You sort of seem to approximate the meaning of the word theory in the sciences to the literary studies and the humanities, so which actually causes a lot of confusion and misunderstanding. These words are not used in the same exact sense when it comes to the sciences and literature. Now, in the sciences, what does theory refer to? Theory refers to certain norms or rules which are generalizable and applicable, universally applicable, but it need not be the case of literary studies. Theory is, of course, certain ways of understanding things, certain ways of generalizing, or certain ways of finding out cause and effect in a way. But it's never unchangeable, very rigid norms which cannot be questioned. These are just ways of understanding things. Imagine that something happened in my house. So I might say that my theory is that this happened because of this. See, I'm using the word theory in a very casual, very ordinary sense. Now, my cat has been making a very strange noise. So I might say my theory is that it must have seen some reptile. See, so again, I'm using the word theory in an entirely different meaning. So the word theory itself has many dimensions. Unlike the sciences, when it comes to humanities, the theory does not mean that this is a universally applicable, unchanging norm, but rather this is a way of understanding things. This is a way of analyzing things. Now, think of some of the theoretical concepts that you have heard of. Now, feminist theory, Marxist theory, postmodern theory, or post-structuralist theory. These are all just certain ways of looking at things. When you analyze a literary text, or when you analyze a social phenomenon that is happening in front of you or happening in your society, theory can be used to analyze it better. Theory can be used as a framework from which to look at things. Now, the example that I usually give is those of colored transparent films, right? You must have seen them, colored transparent films. What do? If you look through a green colored transparent film, everything looks as green to you. And if you use a red transparent film, what happens? Everything looks red to you. So the case of theory is pretty much the same. So theory is in a way a lens to look at things. So that doesn't mean that the reality is that it's the only reality. One theoretical concept may look at one idea from a perspective, another theoretical concept might look at the same idea from a different perspective. So this possibility of interpreting things from a diverse range of perspectives is what makes literature an interesting venture. Now, what actually is the use of having these things, interpreting the same thing from a diverse range of perspectives? This is actually a practice which is very much needed for the functioning of the society. The society has actually survived because we human beings actually do have the capability to look at things from a diverse range of perspectives and from diverse range of perspectives and make sense of them. If at all somebody decided that my perspective is the right one, which if you look at history, many people have done. Adolf Hitler thought that his perspective is the only right perspective, or many other dictators thought that their perspective is the only right perspective, and many religious fanatics thought that their perspective is the only right perspective. And what did they do? They decided that whoever does not conform to their perspective should be doomed. right? So this understanding that anything can be viewed from a diverse range of perspectives is a very significant understanding for the survival and betterment of human societies. So theory is in a way like that. Theory is a way of understanding things, or at times it can be seen as a tool of interpreting things. Now imagine that something happens in a literary text. You might approach it from a Marxist theory and come up with an observation, and you might read it from the perspective of a female character, and you might apply feminist theory to it, or you might apply post-structuralist theories or postmodern theories, but it's actually the same text, right? So you are deciphering different kinds of interpretations from the same text using different theoretical perspectives. So just view theory as a looking glass, just like I mentioned, as a colored film from which you can view things in a different perspective, in a different light. When I discuss about discuss about particular theoretical concepts, you will understand how theory is actually very closely related to our everyday lives. For example, structuralism is very closely related to our everyday life, and Marxism is very closely related to our everyday lives. These are ways of looking at things. Actually, we apply these theories unconsciously every single day. You'll understand that when I elaborate on those. For the time being, I just want you to shed all your apprehensions about theory and understand that this is just a way, or a mode, or a looking glass from which to understand things, from which to make sense of things, from which to create meaning from things, and nothing else. Nothing to be worried about. It's not a very rigid, unchangeable norm. Human beings like us have come up with these generalizations and observations, and it's not like they can never be proven wrong. Okay, so I want you to shed all your fears about theory, and then we'll get started with particular theoretical concepts, and then you'll understand how actually theory is omnipresent in our everyday lives. And I'm very sure that you'll start loving theory then. Okay, thank you. I'll start with structuralism in the next class, and I'll see you there. Thank you.